Quick rant there, if you'll indulge me. I can't quite get my head around the negativity and the criticism of Iran online over the last couple of days from Western voices. Now, Palestinians can say and do whatever they want, as far as I'm concerned. We will never even have the slightest sense of the frustration and the betrayal that they must be going through, as the extermination of their people just continues unabated. But for people in the West to look to Iran and say, you could have done a bit more there. You know what I mean? You were doing all right there fighting Zionism and the US empire on your own. Like, why should they? Why should they have to stand alone and have potentially hundreds and thousands of their civilians murdered and their country destroyed, as many countries before them in the region were destroyed by Western bombs, when the West, I was going to say, just stands idly by and shrugs its shoulders, but it's much more malevolent than that. While the West is the co-architect of all this murder and mayhem in the Levant, particularly in Gaza, 20 months into a genocide, and no European government has stood up and even done the most basic sanctioning of this rogue state. And we're looking to Iran to do more. When we created all this, 100 years ago, British duplicity created this ongoing nightmare for Palestinians. And 100 years on, their craven government and all the other governments in Europe and America, they won't even say strong words against Israel, let alone stop funding them to continue murdering people as they do right up to the present day. Men, women, and children queuing for food aid. Like, a level of evil that I don't think any of us could even get our head around. And Europe and America funds all this. And we're looking to Iran and other countries. I heard someone the other day say, why don't they let the food aid in? Why don't the Egyptians rise up against their government? A lot of Egyptians are living below the poverty line. We're living in relative comfort here in the West. We should overthrow our governments that are making us complicit in a Holocaust in Gaza. Yes, we're on the streets in hundreds of thousands, but we should be on the streets in our millions. And if you're saying oh yeah, but what are you doing? I'll tell you what I'm doing. Nowhere near enough. Because the murder and mayhem goes on. If the world had even a semblance of sanity and fairness to it, there would be a coalition of Western powers that would have invaded Israel already and said, genocide, the crime of crimes, no way. Not only will we not fund you, we have to stop you right now for the sake of humanity. This is absolutely, completely unconscionable. So, do you know what? Us in the West, people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones.